always knew I was gonna be big, you know? Like I always knew I was gonna be like someone. I just ain't know that shit love. It's love. You know what I'm saying? It's like no other. You know, growing up where we grew up, we never really had no, well, me, speaking for myself, I never really felt love or nothing like that. So like when you, obviously when you go on stage and everything, everybody just singing your lyrics and what you put your time and effort to is, there's no other feeling like that. It's like, it's crazy. It's the only time I really feel love.
The 20-year-old seen in this recent music video was just about to head out on tour. But this morning, fellow musicians like Chance the Rapper are sending out condolences. They say Pop Smoke was shot and killed during an early morning break-in at a home in the Hollywood Hills. All police are saying right now is that they got a 911 call just before 5 a.m.
The radio call was called in by someone from back east and stated a friend of theirs' home was being broken into by multiple suspects and that one of them was armed with a handgun.
When police arrived at the home on Hercules Drive, they detained several people who turned out to be witnesses. Those men say there were between 2 and 6 suspects. At least one was wearing a mask.
All right, y'all. Now we back with the Pop Smoke video. And I believe right now was a pretty good time for a lot of y'all to have been requesting video, because recent news was that one of the guys who killed Pop Smoke, or the only guy that shot off the shots, he just pled guilty to, I believe, a lesser charge of murder. I think it was manslaughter. He got 4 years. That does not include time served. And I think he's doing those years at a juvenile hall since he was about 16 when the murder happened, maybe 17. And he is 20 years old now. So it brings some relevancy to doing this video. Now, I'm excited to bring this video to the channel because I believe there's a lot more to the story than what we were given. I want to start the video off with us listening to the 911 call. Now, I was kind of sketchy about putting this entire call in this video because of it possibly getting flagged or restricted, because it's kind of harmful content. YouTube deems stuff like that to be harmful content. But I believe it holds a lot of details to us figuring out whether this was a setup or not by the people that he knew, or if this came from the industry that would have made this a setup murder of Pop Smoke and not just some random event where, you know, these young dudes that were a part of the Hoover Criminals in LA, the Hoover Criminals set, which, you know, used to be Hoover Crips, but now Hoover Criminals. This story they gave us was that, you know, these young dudes was lurking his Instagram like they do a lot of people that visit the Hollywood Hills or whatever, and they're known for robbing these houses in the hills. So just, you know, this random day they just happen to know and be aware and following Pop Smoke, I'm assuming, on Instagram. This is the story that they gave us. And, you know, they saw his address, they typed it up, blah, blah, blah. But we're going to read the official report in this video as well to get both sides. As I was saying about the 911 call, this gives us a little bit more detail, because if you listen to it very closely, you'll hear some things in the video that will kind of feed our narrative of this being a setup and a little bit deeper than some random young Hoover criminals deciding to pull up on the house that Pop Smoke just happened to be in. Pulled up twice, actually, not just the first time, and went in. Came to the house when no one was there, which we're going to go more into that. We're going to go more into the official story. As I was saying, the call will give us a little bit more details. So I want y'all to listen to it very closely. If you have to, put your phone to your ear. Listen to every word in the background because it's quite clear. Then I'm going to come back and talk about a little bit more on how I believe this was more of a setup rather than it being a random attempt to rob someone for their watch and jewelry. Not money, just watch and jewelry. So with that being said, real quick, go ahead and check this out.
You need to Hi, Misty. Do we have anything? Hello, this is the fire department. They're not talking.
Sir?
Hello?
Hello?
This is
The fire department.
the fire department's on the line, sir. What is, give me your, hello? Hello? PD, what are your numbers? I'm going to tell them to wait for LAPD. All right. Okay, I'll send them. Yeah, me too. I'll get it going. Thanks. Hello?
Who else is here?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello, this is the fire department.
Here.
I know, but you're not talking. We're already on their way. Give me your...
Yes.
Okay, units are already en route. Is the person who did...
I can't talk to you anymore. I can't talk to you anymore. Just
Okay.
come here.
Do you know what to do?
No.
Okay, then listen to me. I'm going to tell you how to help this person.
I'm listening.
Okay, now listen. The person...
Just got here.
Okay.
No.
All right. Now, how many...
Yo, this.
Okay. Listen. Get it. Are you in a safe place, sir?
Yeah, I don't know.
Unknown. Okay. They're on their way.
I'm gonna sit down with
All right, so that was the 911 call. Now, to start it off, a lot of people were confused about who made the call. And, reports say that the call was made from someone else, that it was not actually made by the girl that was with Pop Smoke, nor the guy, Mike D. Now, whoever made the call, it doesn't really matter, because somehow, however they did it, the call was transferred to the people that were actually in LA at the house. Because you can hear from the guy saying, Mike D, that come here. Like, he wasn't talking at all to the dispatcher, but he was telling them to come here. So clearly they were inside the house where Pop Smoke died. What sounded like Pop Smoke in the background saying a few things. You could hear the girl that was there saying how, she heard something about the window. She heard a scuffle or whatever. You can't hear everything she says, but some of the words you can make out. In the beginning, she was like, why me? I'm assuming the dude was probably talking about her getting on the phone to talk to the dispatcher. Everyone in the comments of the 911 call video, everyone thought that this was a setup. Everyone also was, mad at how the dude basically responded on the call, which is why I said every video I've done that had an intense 911 call in it, there's always confusion. There's always a lack of cooperation when y'all are supposed to be explaining things to get help on how to nurse a wound until the medical team gets there. I guess as far as the whole address thing, it doesn't really matter, because when you call 911, they're able to ping where the call is coming from, regardless of the person telling them the exact address. You telling them the exact address just gives confirmation of where they're actually going to. But I highly doubt they need, the person to actually say the address. So I'm not gonna make that a big deal about him not giving up the address. What was a big deal is how they just really didn't seem as if they cared. The guy he told the dispatcher, I can't talk to you anymore. It's like, how are you on the phone? However that call was transferred, how would you tell a dispatcher you can't talk to them? The dispatcher asked what's the address, and then he responded yes. Or that could have been an edited clip before it got to the internet, where it edited out a few things that he said in response, and when it came back, it just gave us this kind of weird audio to where the response was cut off and then the last word was put back into the audio. To us, it made it seem like he wasn't answering the questions. But regardless, there was no cooperation. There was no urgency. And whether or not you want to believe Pop Smoke in the background, he said, who else was with you? When the girl was talking to him, you could clearly hear him say, who else was here? Who else was in the room? You could clearly hear him say that. I think it's around the 44-second mark of the clip. Listen closely. You could hear him running out of breath and say, who else is here? Who else was in the room? Now, a lot of people was thinking that he said, you grew up with me, I was loyal to you, but he didn't say that. He didn't say that. If you listen very closely, you can hear him say, who else was here? And he's like running out of breath as he's saying it. Rather than not, you want to believe that's Pop Smoke, but I'm pretty sure that's him. Then he says, who else was in the room at around 45-second mark? Now, another key thing that a lot of people noticed at the end of that clip was around the one right when it ended. Right when the video ended, I think at 1:54 or 1:50 seconds, you can hear the guy Mike D, which it sounds like, I think he's the only voice of the dude that's talking to the dispatcher. He says, how much are the diamonds worth? And then it kind of cuts, the audio cuts to the watches on the shelf. It cuts, so that's why I say the audio was edited in a way, because I know just from editing videos, when someone says something and then another audio cuts right under that audio, it was edited. You know, like whatever was in between it, they didn't leave enough space in between it so it sound natural, so it just cut right under the audio that had just stopped playing, because it said, how much are these diamonds worth? Then there was no pause in between. It was the watches on the shelf. It was like, how much are these diamonds worth? The watches on the shelf. It was that quick, so you know it was edited somehow. So whatever was in between that, we won't know what was said. But a lot of people just took that, you know, and were skeptical about it, because it's like, if your friend right here dying, laying naked on the floor, which I'm assuming he was naked, it's like, why are you worried about how much the diamonds are worth? And that's another thing, which we're going to get into it, because a lot of people missed this part. Because, you know, a lot of channels did videos on Pop Smoke, but they failed to dissect whether or not this was a setup. They all just focus on the main story of, you know, these little young Hoover criminals robbing him just because of the Instagram post. They failed to dig deeper and really critically think about the fact that he was set up. Y'all got to think about it. This man was naked in the shower. How you get caught naked in the shower if someone ain't say, yo, come on in right now? It's very rare that you catch someone in the shower. Bro was in the shower. We're going to come right back to that. Hold that thought. We're going to come right back to that, because I got a picture to show y'all. Some of y'all might remember this, but I got something to show y'all. But before we get into that, let's rewind a little bit, because we're at the tail end of the story of the 911 call after everything happened. So this video wouldn't be proper without reading the narrative of what they say really happened. So we're going to read the article of how everything supposedly happened that led up to that 911 call. All right? So check this out. All right, now, we're here at the article that I found best explain the situation. And of course, it's from Los Angeles Times. It says, a rising rapper, an ill-fated Instagram post, and a killing in the Hollywood Hills. Pop Smoke. I may not read the entire article. It's a pretty long article, but I'm going to give y'all everything we need to know about the official narrative. It says at 2 a.m., a black BMW rolled past the house the rapper Pop Smoke was renting in the Hollywood Hills. The driver circled back and stopped. A security camera across the street captured a passenger getting out and sneaking toward the back of the house before returning a minute later. The car sped off. The budding rap star was a few miles away at a recording studio on Sunset Boulevard. He returned 2 hours later, and again a car pulled up. Pop Smoke returned to the house at about 4 a.m. because the black BMW first came at 2 a.m. Then they left. Says, this time, an Infiniti sedan with the headlights off pulled up. It was 4 people that emerged and slipped into the shadows along the side of the house. One thing you got to ask yourself, how did they know to come back 2 hours later when Pop Smoke was there? You know, you got to think about this. You have to think about everything that they're telling you. How did they know to come back 2 hours later? They just guessed, they just figured, oh shit, y'all, about 4 o'clock, he should be back, we'll pull up back then. In a different car. Says 10 minutes later, 3 of them ran back into the camera's frame. The footage showed the 4th walking out the front door holding a purse and a gun. Inside, the musician lay sprawled at the foot of the staircase, dying from a gunshot wound to the chest. The death of Pop Smoke, whose real name was Bashar Jackson, stunned the music world. It says in court, the LAPD detectives described the home invasion they alleged spiraled quickly into a murder. A heist conceived by teenagers, the crime was as brazen as it was pointless. A killing that robbed the rap world of one of its brightest young artists, while netting the alleged killers a watch they sold for just $2,000. The watch, his Rolex, which I assume it was a Rolex, diamond studded, they sold for only $2,000. He died at 20 years old. Jackson would not know the breadth of the critical acclaim and commercial success his music received after he was gone. The morning of. It says a few hours after the killing, Frank Flores and Carlos Camacho, detectives of the LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division, headed to the crime scene. Flores noted 3 9mm shell casings on the floor upstairs. In the kitchen, the detective found a black gift bag from Amiri, which is supposedly where the address thing came from on Instagram, with the bags and how they, basically showed the address on the stories. Him and Mike D. Says when the bag arrived a day earlier, Jackson posted a picture of it on Instagram that exposed the house address on a label. Spotting the post with alarm, a talent manager from the rapper's record label had asked him to take it down. So supposedly, from his label, he was asked to take that photo down. Says when they reviewed the footage from the surveillance systems at the homes on the street, the BMW and the Infiniti piqued their interest. They could discern parts of the license plates through DMV records, learned both cars were registered to a 19-year-old named Corey Walker. A judge had signed off access to the Google account linked to the email address Walker had provided when he bought the Infiniti. In the hours before and after Jackson was killed, Flores testified that someone who was logged into the account made several searches of interest to the detectives. At 2:45 a.m., which would have been 45 minutes after they came to the house the first time, the account's users searched the house address and visited the LAPD's website. He said at 4:08 a.m., the user looked up the address on the real estate website Zillow, which features several photos of the inside of the house. So maybe he was trying to look at how the inside of the house looked. And you have to remember, they came at 2 o'clock. So they already knew where the house was. This says at 4:08 a.m., they looked up the address on real estate website Zillow. So they wouldn't have been looking up the address to see where it's at. They'd already been there. They must have been trying to see what the inside of the house looked like. Then it says at 5:15 a.m., about an hour after the shooting, an internet search of Rolex Oyster Perpetual Datejust was made. And just before 8 a.m., the user queried Breaking News LA and checked Channel 7's breaking news page. Basically was trying to see if it was on the news because they knew they had shot and killed Pop Smoke. And at 5:15 a.m., they were trying to see how much the Rolex was worth. Then the detectives got another search warrant for Walker's phone records, which allowed them to retrace his movements that pinged off of cell towers. So it says the morning Jackson was killed, Walker's phone exchanged calls with a number associated with a 17-year-old boy, Sean Hansen. The Times typically does not name juvenile defendants at 1:34 a.m. Both teenagers' phones were hitting off a tower on Florence Avenue in South Los Angeles, but by 2:04 a.m. their phones were in contact with a tower on Mulholland Drive in Hollywood Hills. Then about 90 minutes later, their phones again pinged off towers in South Los Angeles. So this was how they put together the fact that they were actually on Mulholland Drive in Hollywood Hills. It says after a night at the East West Studios in Hollywood, Jackson climbed into a white Range Rover with his childhood friend, Mike D, and Amelia Rose, a woman who he had met that night. Alright, y'all, now it's time we get into the setup of Pop Smoke. Now, if y'all remember this a while back, Young Berg said the same girl who set him up a few months before Pop Smoke died was the same girl that set up Pop Smoke. Because we all know how things go down in LA. Now, one thing I want to say before we get into this is that I've already told y'all, every time a rapper comes up and they're from another state but they die in LA, it was set up to be that way. He was murdered, and I believe set up by his label. And we're going to get a little bit more into that. Just like how they did King Von. They would never be able to set them up in the states where they live. They set up Von as well. That's why they got Von here in Atlanta. Same with Pop Smoke. That's why they got him to go to LA without any security. It was a setup from the beginning. So supposedly this is how it happened. The girl that set up Young Berg was not the same girl that was with Pop Smoke the night that he died. That's not Amelia Rose. I forget the other girl's name, but it's not Amelia Rose. She's actually a black girl. Amelia Rose looked like she's like, she's definitely from another country, because in her statement, she said they took her passport. Might be like Russian or something. I don't know what she is, but she's not American. There was a bit of confusion. I almost want to say Young Berg confused the two girls, but who knows? Maybe the girl that set him up could have also had a hand in this and getting it all to play out the way that it did. So that was Young Berg piece of it. He said Pop Smoke was set up by the same girl, right? Remember this picture I just showed? This is Amelia Rose. She was the girl that was with Pop Smoke the night that he died. That's Amelia Rose, right? We're going to check out this statement from Amelia Rose, okay? This is her basically telling, on Instagram how Mike was fake and how Mike was involved. Mike D, one of Pop's best friends. She said, "Mike, you are so fake. I'm sure you are involved in what happened. Your reaction and everything you did that night was so weird. When we were on our way home, you were so nervous. You were texting someone the whole time. When we got home, you were talking to someone on the phone. Maybe you would tell everyone the truth. Who is the black woman who did the setup?" Now she's talking about who Young Berg was saying set him up. Who are the people involved in his, I'm assuming it says death or murder. Everything, I saw everything. When Pop was talking to someone on the phone, you went to look out the window. I remember how you looked out the window and wrote to someone. It is from this window that you can see the stairs along which they climbed to the second floor. 2 rooms overlook this balcony, and I wonder how they knew which room to go to. I'm sure, Mike, that it was you who gave them the information to basically go straight to the room that Pop Smoke was in. Because I'm sorry, y'all got to remember, on the Google search, on one of their phones, they looked up the rooms and stuff in the house on Zillow. But them doing that, they won't have a whole layout of the house and know exactly where Pop Smoke is. Something had to be told to them. Like I already said, remember, he was in the shower supposedly. And then we have to go all the way back to the fact that they came at 2 o'clock and then they came back at 4. So someone told them that they were on the way back to the house. They didn't just show up 2 hours later because they just automatically knew he was going to be there. No. Someone told them to come back and what time to come back. Or someone text Pop Smoke, which I found some more information that, some other people text Pop Smoke to make sure that he was at the house as if they were going to pull up. And that's how they sent the young dudes in. That's how they confirmed that he was there. That's why they came back 2 hours later. Or it was probably Mike or the girl the entire time, because she said, who is the black woman who did the setup? So that means somehow, some way, this other girl that set up Young Berg, she's somehow involved in this. All right. This is why I think it was set up by his label. Someone at his label was going to take out Pop Smoke, and Fabio Foreign was going to reap the benefits from it. Why? Fabio blew up the most after Pop Smoke died. Fabio wouldn't be who he is today if Pop Smoke was still here. Clearly, he has benefited the most from Pop Smoke dying. Pop Smoke and Fabio, they was together the night before Pop Smoke went to LA. Then Pop Smoke met up with On Point Like Op in LA with Mike D. Mike D and his photographer, Apex, they the ones who had Pop Smoke go to LA and rent out that Airbnb with no security. Now, That's why I said it could have been a case where people who actually knew Pop Smoke acted like they were about to pull up, text him, got the address to make sure that he was there that night. Forget the address, him posting it online and all that. That does not still give them the time on when he's actually going to be at the house. So it was more of a setup. So someone who texted him asking for the address and for them to pull up that night when he got back to the house, that was them confirming that he was there. They already knew the address because remember, they got to the house at 2 o'clock and then they left, 2 a.m. So somebody posed and act like they didn't know the address, text Pop Smoke to make sure he was at the house. Then they sent the young Hoovers back to the house for the hit. They were just trying to confirm that he was there. I almost think everyone was in on the setup, including the Amelia Rose girl. But once it all happened, she started exposing things that happened that night. And she started exposing Mike D. This was a hit. They set him up. They sent him there with no security, nobody truly there watching his back. And they went in with intent to murder Pop Smoke. Y'all missing one thing. I've said it multiple times throughout this video. Bro, they came to the crib at 2 a.m. Then they came back at 4. If they wanted to really rob Pop Smoke, they would have went in the house at 2 a.m. If they wanted to just look for jewelry and look for shit in the crib, they would have went in at 2. Who told them to come back at 4 something? Around 4:15 a.m. How did they know to come back, y'all? So they just wanted to personally rob Pop Smoke of what was on him? No, this was a hit. That's why nobody else died nor got shot. Nobody died, nobody got shot but Pop Smoke. This was a hit, and it was set up by his label and people that he know, and those 2 girls, and Mike D. And that's the truth. That's why I said the whole, I just think the whole robbery narrative is what the setup was, is what the story was to make it seem like, it was a robbery gone wrong. But at the deep end of it, he was set up to be killed by people that he knew. And it started in New York because those are the people who benefited from it. Who else? Maybe Ross Swish, Fabio maybe benefited the most as far as career-wise. Fabio for sure. He blew up, bro. He's now what Pop Smoke would have been. Pop Smoke would have been bigger, of course, but still, Fabio getting everything. They sent him to L.A. with no security, and that was the setup from the beginning. He never went to L.A., in his mind, he was going to go do, business, record, stuff like that. But he had people plotting on him in the shadows, demons. And they gave him up. He was sacrificed. And how you know it came from the industry, it came from his label? Because the address of the house was 2033. Pop Smoke was 20 years old, and the number 33. Just like every single video I do on this channel has the number 33 involved. That's how you know this was a hit and not a random robbery. The address was 2033. You think Pop Smoke booked the Airbnb? No, he didn't book it. His manager booked it. The people at the label booked it for him. That address on purpose. His age and the number 33 for the symbolism to show you who is behind the setup and the death of Pop Smoke. All right, y'all. So that about wraps this video up. I really want y'all to let me know what y'all think in the comments, and if y'all seeing the same things that I'm seeing it the way that I do, because it's clear as day that he was set up. This was not a random robbery. There's no way possible that it was. And yeah, man, y'all let me know what's going on in the comments. Y'all already know, man. Y'all keep giving me y'all suggestions. We got more work to do. I do appreciate every last one of y'all. And with that being said, it's Black Balloon. And I'm going to see y'all soon. I'm out.